What's up YouTube, Bismath here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to answer all your wholesale real estate questions, whether they're beginner questions or a little bit more advanced questions. And the great thing about this video is that I got all these questions directly from you all. Last week on my Instagram story, I asked you all to submit any questions you had on real estate wholesaling, and then I was going to make a video about it. And this video is answering all those questions. Another thing about this video I want to talk about is that it is a longer video because there are a lot of questions that were submitted by you all. And so with this video, you all can play it in the background, like when you're driving or when you're cooking or cleaning, and just play it, listen in the background, listen to the whole thing, kind of like a podcast. And so if you just came on YouTube and you're learning about wholesale real estate, I hope you have a pen and paper ready to take some notes to learn a little bit more about wholesale real estate. So if you all don't mind, just smash that like button. It really supports this channel. And then comment down below if you have any other questions. I usually respond to all my comments on my videos. If you all are interested in a online course where we have videos, all ready for you so you can learn about real estate wholesaling, check the link down below. All right, let's get right into it. All right, you all, so I've taken screenshots of you all's questions from Instagram. And so this is a full page of questions. So I'm just going to zoom in and answer some of these questions for you all on the spot. I'm gonna try to go through them quickly, but give you all enough information that you all can learn and just answer these questions. So the first one, let's go to this question right here. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit. So it says, what's more important in wholesaling? Properties or buyers? So I think what this person is saying is, what's more important, finding, I guess, the discounted properties or finding buyers? And in my opinion, it's finding the properties, because that's the hardest part. And when you can find discounted properties, your buyers will naturally come. So concentrate on getting properties at a steep discount, because your investors will become your best investors, and they will just flock to your deals if you can really get them at a very steep discount. Finding buyers are not hard as long as it's a deal. So next question says, is PropStream a good source to generate motivated sellers leads? And the answer is yes. I have done deals using PropStream. I have tons of videos on how to use the software, how to find the best motivated seller lists. Check the link down below if you're interested in a free 7-day trial using my link. And you can get 7 free days trials. But basically, PropStream is a database where you fill out different criterias and filters, and it helps you find properties and sellers based off of that information. So if you're looking for vacant properties, properties that no one lives in, that website is used for that. So you can target them and be like, hey, owner of this property that no one lives in, do you want to sell your house? And you can do that on that website. And they provide just the seller's information, and for extra cost, you can actually get their phone numbers on their website. So check the link down below if you're interested. Do you call each phone number individually, one at a time, or do you use a call website? So one of my main sources of marketing is direct mail, but sometimes I do cold call. So if my list is a large list, let's say it's over 100 people, I use a service like Mojo Dialer or Phone Burner. They're different websites where I just upload a list with their phone numbers, and I just click a button and it just calls these numbers one by one. So I don't have to physically dial in every single number. But if the list is smaller and it's a very niche list, like probates or something like that, I like to call. Sometimes I hand dial them one by one, but I just use a area code in that area, making sure my number looks familiar to other people. All right, so next question is, can you wholesale a house that a owner recently bought? It has a HOA. Great question. So the reason why I wouldn't exactly wholesale a house that an owner recently bought is because they just recently bought. Why would they want to sell a house right after they bought it, right? Yes, if you see that the property is distressed, most likely you will be an investor trying to flip the property or use it as a rental, but you can reach out to them and see if they're open to sell. But usually you're looking for distressed properties. Number one, if it looks distressed out on the outside, and then if the situation is distressed, you know, did they just find themselves in this deal, or do they have an exit strategy? So for me, I don't go after people that recently bought their property within the past 3 or 5 years, because there's no point, because usually they're not looking to sell. And they also say, and has the HOA fee. So yeah, you can go after properties that has the HOA fees, but usually I would sell them to fix and flip people, because they can make a bigger profit just selling the property at, you know, flipped. Because people who want to hold the property as a rental, that's just something that they have to, you know, incur, like the HOA fee of owning that property. And in order for them to cash flow, like to make a positive return on their rental, they have to make sure the HOA fee is pretty low. So, but yeah, you can go after properties that have HOA fees. So let's go on to the next question. It says, how can I build a cash buyers list even though I'm 17? Great question, Juan. So building a cash buyers list is very simple. Your age, it doesn't matter building a cash buyers list. You can be 9 years old. You could be 90 years old building a cash buyers list. But you can build it just the same way that I explained on this channel. I'll try to put some cards over here on how to build a cash buyers list, like on PropStream, or just using different services that I use. One free way is just going on Facebook, going to your real estate groups, and just posting, hey, you all, I'm wholesaling properties. I'm looking for buyers. Please leave your email. And people usually comment. Or you can also kind of search on that group, put like cash buyers, and it will pull up any post that said the word cash buyer, because usually there are other wholesalers in that group asking for other emails from other buyers. And so you can read those comments and just copy those emails. And that's one way to create cash buyers for free and as a 17-year-old. All right, let's go to the next question. So what was the most challenging part of your first wholesale deal? Wow, great question. So I guess before getting into a wholesale deal, the most challenging part was just being accountable to myself, being persistent and consistent with my marketing, with my follow-ups, you know, putting things on the schedule, saying, hey, if I'm going to follow up with this person in 2 weeks, I have to call them no matter what. I can't be lazy. Now, the challenging part in my first deal was I actually got the thing signed the first time I met with the owner. I kind of wish I did a little bit more research on the numbers, because the first number I spit out to him, he accepted it. So I could have went lower. But anyways, I got the thing under contract, and there was just a big confusion kind of with finding a buyer. I think the challenging part was being clear to the buyer, hey, you know, I'm just assigning a property. You're going to be responsible for all closing costs, because that's something I didn't mention. So I had to pay like $175 for closing costs, which wasn't a big deal. And my first deal netted me close to $14,000, which is pretty good for a first deal. And so I guess just dealing with the emotions, I guess that's very challenging, especially for your first deal, because you have a deal under contract, you know it's a deal, you have a buyer that's interested, and it's like, it keeps you up at night. So just dealing with the emotions, that was a little bit challenging, and yeah, different things like that. Can you share a contract? Yeah, I have links of my contracts down below if you all are interested. I actually have a video on contracts. I'll post it here somewhere, you can check down below. But it's a very simple one-page contract. What do I need or at the title company when I have a house under contract? So when you have a house under contract, all you need to do is just make sure you find the title company. Links down below. I have a playlist on title companies, how I find them, things that you need, and just me actually going to the title company and closing wholesale deals. So check that playlist down below. But what do I need, or what do you need to do at a title company? When you get a property under contract, make sure it's a deal. You can send it over to the title company so they can start a title search and go through that whole process. But what I usually like to do, in order not to waste their time or my time, I like to wait until I have a cash buyer in hand. Once I have a cash buyer, that's when I send over the documents over to them. Because sometimes title companies may charge you if you don't have a buyer already for a title search. But if that's something you want to do, you can do it. And so, yeah, they take care of everything. You have to make sure the title company does assignments on contracts and always update and, follow up with them. Hey, how's the process going? If they're that type of company. There's some title companies, they're on top of everything. They send you updates and emails, but there are other title companies that I dealt with. I had to be like the proactive one. Like, hey, did you guys get this title search done? What are the updates? So kind of navigate, the vibe of that title company and make sure you're on top of things with that. So best list to pull at the moment. So best list to me, honestly, is the list that a lot of people don't have, which is driving for dollars. I always talk about it. Honestly, I closed a deal this past week from a driving for dollars list that I did early last year, like over a year ago. To me, it's the best niche, unique list that you can target. If you want to go on PropStream, what I like, I have different videos. Check through my channel of different lists that you can go after. I like your classic high equity list. Honestly, just make sure the equity is high enough that you can wholesale it. All right, let's go on to the next question. How to get price out of seller. So there's different ways, because you want to get the price first out of the seller. After you build rapport, I like to keep price last. Once you find out the condition of the property, if there's any motivation, what is that motivation? And their timeline to sell, like the 4 pillars like Brent Daniels talk about, TTP. I like to lastly end off with price, but a lot of times they may come out with price when you ask those other questions. So price, what I like to say is, okay, cool. So let's say you can just sell the property as is and just walk away from it. How much are you looking for? That's how I like to phrase it. If they go around or beat around the bush, I like to say, okay, what do you see your house selling for as is on the market? So I keep on asking that. Or let's say they have a mortgage. I like to say, okay, so you have this amount of mortgage. Let's say after you pay off this mortgage, how much left do you want? So you could kind of gauge what they're looking for with that. So that's another way to get a price out of the seller. So is there a separate contract for earnest money? Usually you just put that on the regular purchase and sales agreement contract. You can edit it to your preference. So do you have to get a new contract when you renegotiate? Yes, you can if you want to, but what you can do, either way, you have to sign something else. You can do an amendment, just saying, hey, all the stipulations from the original contract, like all the clauses are still binding, but the only thing we're changing is the price from $50,000 to $40,000. And you can do that. Or if you want to, you can just make a whole new contract. So what's the most efficient way to get in contact with sellers, like number searching? Great question. So the best efficient way is skip tracing. It's like finding their numbers. Most people have cell phone numbers or phone numbers. What you can do is go on different websites like batch skip tracing, or even use PropStream. Links down below if you all are interested in those services. You just send in the seller's information, like their name and their property address and their mailing address, and then they will search their records and find a phone number for you. Another great way, if you're bold and if you live around the area, you could just knock on their door. All right. But virtually, usually you have to get their phone number. When you find a house, how do you find a cash buyer? How do you put the contract the house? So, I like these, classic basic questions, because there are new people probably watching this video that probably never heard of wholesaling. So when you find a house, how do you find a cash buyer? So when you find a house, and how do you put it on a contract? When you find a house, what you have to do is just talk to the seller. If they're looking to sell the property as is, usually the property needs a little bit more repairs, you put the property under contract at a low enough price, which you can sell it for all fixed up. So let's say the house is worth $100,000, but it needs a certain amount of repairs. You can put the property under contract at $40,000, find a buyer at $50,000 and make $10,000. And so the buyer can buy that property at $50,000, put like 20-30 grand and make like 20 grand off of that deal. So how do you find this cash buyer? You find it by looking on Facebook groups, real estate groups. Earlier in this video, I talked about that and just posting the deal on Craigslist and different things like that. And so that's basically the process. Do you recommend Deal Machine and CallRail? Yes, I recommend Deal Machine for driving for dollars. It just kind of follows you as you go, and it's just very intuitive. It's a great app for driving for dollars. CallRail is great because it lets me store numbers, and it gives me a number directly related to the area code that I'm targeting, because my personal cell number is still not from around here. And so I use CallRail for phone numbers and area codes I can use in a specific area, which is great for virtual wholesaling. So does the seller have to be present when showing my cash buyer the property? No, they do not. If they happen to be, just navigate that situation. You can stay around the seller, make sure they cater to, and you can let your buyers roam the property and look at it. But you just have to make sure you tell your buyers, hey, if you have any questions about price, you just come to me directly and we can talk. What is the best skip tracing service? Honestly, to me, they get all their numbers from the same place. I've been using like PropStream or batch skip tracing, but honestly, since I already have PropStream, everything is there and it's so easy. And PropStream has new prices on skip tracing. I think their standard is only 12 cents per lead. And so I just use that. Do you have any mentoring services? No, I do not at the moment. Mentoring has been closed. I'm trying to concentrate on the student that I have right now, but I do have online courses you can check down below. Is it better to wholesale mobile homes or single family homes? You can do both, honestly. There are people who make a killing wholesaling mobile homes. There are people on YouTube, on Instagram that talks heavily about that. And single family mobile homes can actually be easier because there's not a lot of competition, right? Single family, there's tons of companies going after single family homes. All right, other question. What did you do after your first deal? So after my first deal, you guys, I blew the money. I went out, went to the club, popped some bottles, No, I'm joking. I didn't do any of that. So with my first deal, all I did was pay off any debt that I incurred with starting this business, and I put money aside for tithe and offerings. That's what I believe in, giving God back his portion. I also put money aside for myself, and then I put money dedicated to more marketing for my second deal, and just use that money to live off, pay my bills, and different things. Advice for beginner wholesalers: be persistent, be consistent. Does driving for dollars work? Absolutely. If I can't find my first deal, should I look for other wholesalers to try to work with? Yeah, that's a possibility, like work under a wholesaling company or another wholesaler and just provide value to them. So how did you find a cash buyer in Tennessee to partner with you on that hotel deal? Oh, okay, so my last video, you all, I posted how I'm partnering with the cash buyer to like flip the property or just hotel it. Hoteling is you're actually buying the property yourself as opposed to assigning it. And then you just quickly clean it up and you just put it back on the market. So I found this cash buyer because I actually worked with this cash buyer before. I brought him a couple of deals before where he made money, I made money. And so when I brought to him this deal, I was like, hey, I want to level up in my real estate game. I want to get into flipping and just learning the process on how to do a simple hotel deal. I didn't really want to get a hard money loan to take down a property. So what I did, I just asked one of my cash buyers that I worked with, that I knew, hey, let's get the property, let's partner, and he was fine with it. So he's funding 100% of the deal, the purchase, and like all the cleanup fees and repairs. How to virtually wholesale successfully. Awesome. So I don't virtually wholesale in other markets, but I have done deals where literally I'm just on the phone. I'm locking up deals just on my laptop. But the thing is, you just got to build enough rapport. You have to have like someone over at the other virtual market usually who can look at the property for you, whether that's an investor or a realtor usually. And what I like to tell people is that always start with like your first deal working with other wholesalers in that area that you can JV with, and they'll find a buyer for you. So you take care of calling sellers, looking for them, putting it under contract, and then finding a buyer. So I'm using PropStream to build lists. What amount of equity is good for vacants? Great question. So This is a great question because you want enough equity that you can wholesale the property for. What I like to say is for properties like this, I like to do at least 50% or more because that's where you can actually make money. What books do you recommend for wholesaling? So I just like general business books in general. So like for me, wholesaling, I would say there's this book that I got from Amazon called If You Cannot Wholesale by Now, I Got Nothing for You. I think it's by this guy named like Todd Fleming. So check out that book on Google. That's a great book for wholesaling. What all do you need, or what people do you need before or when you get a house under contract? So I have tons of videos of how to wholesale step by step, how to get your first deal. So I posted one last month, how to get your first deal, 2 main strategies. So take a look at that video. And then I posted one last year, step by step, how I got a deal done. And I actually recorded the whole process from start to finish. So make sure you all take a look at that. So how do you run comps? So I have 2 different videos specifically how to run comps. I'll link it down below or post it somewhere, or just go through my channel and search up comps or ARV and those videos will pop up. Facebook ads or texting for marketing. Budget $500. You know, I'm not sure, but I would say texting. Texting is pretty good. But Facebook ads is different, and a lot of wholesalers do not go after Facebook. So that's something to explore. You just have to, I would say, actually kind of spend a little bit of money on some like a course for Facebook marketing, since it's not very that popular and you may not know exactly how to market on Facebook. Any cold calling tips for beginners? I'm pretty nervous to call. I'm not your most extroverted or talkative person either, so I would say just make sure you just call and just understand you're going to make mistakes and then just go with it. All right, you all, hope you all really enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe, comment down below if you have any other questions, and just look through my channel about different questions you have. Just type in different keywords so you can find specific videos for those specific questions. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll talk to you all later.